the Housing Committee. Who is joining us at the table for the Housing Committee? Hey? Oh, okay. Pauline has moved. What a shame. Phil Clearwater has seconded. Where's Glenn gone? I don't know. Sorry, I didn't notice that Glenn had gone.
Lost our chair.
Sorry? Okay, well, look, who would like to start? Vicky.
So I just want to talk to recommendation 7.1 on page 81.
The mover and seconder. It was moved by
You've got
Pauline and seconded by
Pauline and Phil.
Phil.
Basically, explain that the issue of housing is completely urgent and that a great deal of work is going into this issue, and that the scale of the problem is that we are about 11,000 houses fewer than we had pre-earthquake in Christchurch as of the end of 2013, that housing is one of this council's key objectives and is definitely one of the most pressing issues that we face. I'm hearing through the Mayor's Welfare Fund, through a number of social service organisations, and you'll all be hearing about kids living in substandard housing. You'll be reading in the press about long-term couch surfing, and you'll be understanding the difficulties that people moving into the city are having with finding affordable rental housing. We're also seeing actually that the rental prices, which have gone up dramatically, are now actually starting to cause a new class of poor in the city. So from our point of view, from the City Council's point of view, doing nothing about affordable, and I stress this is affordable, despite the fact that it comes in a clause that basically deals with social housing and with relocation of houses into the red zone. I am not talking about relocation of houses from the red zone, sorry. But doing nothing is not an option for this council. The scale of the problem is such that it requires major action, and 2014 is not the worst. All of the predictions suggest that it gets worse from here until about 2017. So if this is not the worst, we are in for some pretty awful things unless we do things. So what we are working towards, and what we will bring to a council meeting, a special council meeting around mid-March, is a proposal for a housing accord with the government, and more particularly a new housing entity which will involve this City Council and the government and possibly other parties. But even the government and the council will not be big enough on their own to solve the issues of housing that we face in Christchurch. So it's intended that this new entity will work with the private sector as a catalyst for the provision of additional housing, particularly additional affordable rental housing, and that will help with the problem. It will need to be quite a large solution because the problem is massive. So Council has been working hard on this. What we intend to do, and just what I want to say today, because obviously in order to start a public consultation process on something, we are required to bring a full statement of proposal to the Council, is that full statement of proposal will come by mid-March to a special meeting of the Council. It will then go out for public consultation for at least a month, and then come back to a further special council meeting, such that the consultation can be listened to, and people will have the chance through a hearings process to be heard on any aspect of it. So this is really just to flag that is coming. It doesn't, as I say, address the major issues in the housing report of the red zone relocated houses. It is intended to go well beyond that, and it's actually looking at the provision of new affordable rental housing in conjunction with the government, with possibly other parties, and particularly with the private sector, to look at not just to increase the supply, but also to drive innovation, to build communities rather than houses, and to also allow for the innovation in some of the costs around housing as well. Just so that people have that information, that's coming back to us in mid-March. I don't think we need to do anything additional here, but just in relation to 7.1, the committee recommendation, that's where that has now gotten to, because this report was on the 11th of February, so that was a long time ago.
This is on the facilities rebuild? No, yeah. Yes, if I may just highlight a couple of things. We were talking before about trends. One trend here, and this bears relationship to the wider, bigger picture over social and affordable housing, is that our waiting list trend continues to trend up. I wish you to note that. With regard to our units, 63% in that work package of January to December last year, that's 44 out of 70 of closed units have been repaired. In open, 39% have, 78 out of 202, and there are various reasons for that figure. Some good news in terms of repair, and I'm particularly delighted to see Lynn Christie and Reg Stillwell courts in the east for residents there reopened. In terms of the numbers, 3 at Lynn Christie, 6 at Reg Stillwell. The Ds are nearly completed. They should be through by next month. I know that more open unit repairs are happening as we speak, and I'm aware, I think, some more will be opened quite soon. In terms of the EQC Global Settlement, we're still waiting on that. Dundee Place as a new build is very close as well. I think any time now we'll be looking at an opening of the 12 new units. End of March. Good. That's good. Yes. Yes. So I've just highlighted a few aspects of that part of the report, and if you wish to open that up for questions with staff, that's...
Jimmy Cham?
Only one question, Sorry. Okay, yeah. Paragraph 2.2, because a moment have a 325, the kind of social housing has been shut down. But two categories, one is due to structure, damage, design, weakness. The other is the health and the safety. What's the difference? I have no idea whether it's overlap or separate. Yeah.
Scott Bennett from our housing program to tell you exactly what the difference is. Thank you.
Thank you. With respect to the health and safety, there's a couple of examples there. It relates back to the original civil defence yellow placard that was placed on those units. A lot of those ones that are referenced under health and safety also contain structural damage, but the predominant thing at the time was the health and safety aspect of that. For example, we have units at Brougham Village that are not too badly damaged, but they're adjacent to the 3-storey blocks that could actually collapse onto them, so we can't occupy them for that basis. So they're closed due to health and safety, due to the fact that the neighbouring units could collapse onto them. And then we've had other health and safety issues in there with liquefaction, sewage coming through the units that they've been closed on a health and safety basis, but they actually have underlying structural damage. So the classification relates primarily back to the original yellow card, placard that was placed on those.
Okay, thank you.
Very good. Right, Pauline Cotter.
Just wondering, on 4.2.4 regarding the insurance, the EQC, if we could actually have that explained a little more clearly, because the Technical Advisory Group seeking to finalise and validate the total claim damage assessment model by early February 2014. Do we have that? And following on from that, unfortunately, this has led to a suspension of the current joint damage assessment process with implications on the associated repairs program. So can we have a bit of an update
Yep. So
on that?
certainly for the first part, yes, we do have the first part of that we definitely have in February. We've actually shared that in great detail, line by line, block by block, unit by unit with EQC. As of Tuesday this week, we've received the EQC's version of the same sort of analysis, and we have our men with large brains sitting in back rooms trying to match up the two data sets at the moment and identify where there are differences and try to explain and understand where the differences are from the EQC evaluation and our own evaluation on a block by block basis. So that work is progressing. That will continue this week and next week. The two technical teams from the two organisations will get together and work it through at a professional level so they do understand where each is coming from. On the 12th of March, we have the next scheduled negotiation meeting. So with myself, Diane Brandish and Kevin Locke and our team, led by Tom Weston, QC, with the EQC team led by Bruce Ensign. So that will be coming back together then. Hopefully at that meeting we'll be able to progress an understanding of the gap between our position and their position and look at a way forward. So yes, it is moving along and we're getting there. You might want to comment on the second part, Scott.
Yep, so with respect to the second part of your question there, the original process that we had in place with EQC was jointly going out and reassessing the properties, and that came about due to the fact that they did their first high-level assessments like everyone else in Christchurch, and they missed a lot of scope out. So we started a process where we'd go back out there, jointly agree those, cost those up equally, and then we would get on with the repairs and that. So when this global settlement came about, they basically diverted their resources off that into this. So since August last year, they've ceased doing this joint assessment process. So we've still had a number of properties going through our approval chain that we've done that process on. We're coming to the last of those now. So with the delegation in place, their revised cost and the cost that we've agreed with our contract have meant that we've been able to proceed with repairs authorised through the general managers. Now, because we've got old estimates that are based on a low level, the original scopes and that, the differences outside the delegation. So what you'll see coming up is reports to proceed with repairs, coming to council to get authorisation because the gap is high at the moment.
So we'll be bringing that to the Housing Committee as required so we can keep the program ticking along while the negotiations continue.
Yep.
We don't want to stop and slow down or stop, but the risks start to get higher as the differences are bigger.
Phil Clearwater.
Just with regard to the large blocks of units where repairs aren't feasible, and in fact they will be demolished in due course, and there may be just one or two of those units occupied, say, is there a time plan to have those sites cleared in due course?
Well, we've done a lot of work on, particularly, you'll know, without going back over history, the old and cold blocks, the 400 and something or other that we wish to get rid of. And we are looking at partnership opportunities to basically improve those sites. And you'll know there are a range of sites that we've been trying to work our way through to try and progress that. So we do have some, the first one up was Andrews Crescent. We're just at a point really of thinking about how we manage that. And there are some issues about how we use the land that we're getting some advice on as well. So we have a partnership program in place to replace and develop our social housing sites. And some of those will be some of those big sites, I think.
I'm thinking particularly of the large sites which are virtually empty, apart from, say, 2 or 3.
Yep,
And,
like
and
Brian.
where, rather than have vandalism, in fact, council needs to proceed as soon as we can.
With respect to, we'll be following the same process as the community facilities. We'll be seeking to get a final position from the insurer on those ones, because most of the ones you refer to are in the overcap position. So once we've got that, we will be bringing forward a report to council to get approval to go ahead and demolish those, recognising the fact that they're derelict structures.
Yeah, the trick is getting as much certainty as one can out of the insurer so that you can make a good decision about what we do next.
Yanni Johansson?
Thank you. Along the similar lines, but the houses that we have in the red zone, have we transferred those to Sarah, and do we no longer own them? And I know originally there was kind of a thought that maybe some of those could be lived in temporarily, not badly damaged, but, you know, ability to provide housing. I presume that those opportunities have been lost.
Yeah, the transfer is underway at the moment. There's issues around the around sort of the Public Works Act and the transfer mechanism, so it's quite protracted in terms of that actual land transfer component. With respect to the structures themselves, they are now in increasing derelict state. All the electrical connections have been removed. A lot of the services had significant damage anyway, so I'm sad to say the majority of them actually have been significantly vandalised. Majority have had their hot water cylinders ripped out and stolen.
I just think, like, it'd be good to, are you expecting a report that will come back to council to transfer those units and that land over to the government? I mean, I would presume there would be a formal report that did that.
I think that goes back to the cost share, so I'll have a look into that.
Yeah, I mean, I think we'd want to know, because, as you say, lots of issues. The one in Sumner in particular, Captain Thomas Courts, which could be subdivided and not be in the red zone. Have we done that? Or
I've asked the property team to have a look at that, and they're going to advise me shortly about whether we can or can't do that, what the implications are. In theory, that whole bit of land goes to Sarah, and I guess in theory we might have to buy it back, but I don't know where that discussion will go, but we're getting advice on it at the moment.
Okay, so when are we likely, because this has been outstanding for about 2 years, when can we get some kind of definitive answer? For people that don't know, Captain Thomas is in Sumner. It's near Wakefield Ave. In the rockfall analysis that came out, basically half of the units are at risk, the other half aren't, but because there's the property is all in one title, it obviously takes in the whole area. So if we could subdivide it, we could probably have people living in those units, although they do need a bit of repair, and we could actually have some land where we could, you know, provide social housing.
I've just had an update, Councillor. Angus Smith and our property team has been talking with Sarah and has put this proposition to them. We're expecting a formal response from them within a month.
Good. All right, well, I'll put the motion on the Facilities Rebuild Social Housing Program status update. All those in favour say aye. Those opposed say no. Carry.